Says it's being live streamed. Cindy, good job.
Oh, I still have a bar. It's moving across. Let's see. Okay.
Do we all have to say okay on that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I got it.
Okay, so everybody has to say okay. I do love this because we don't have to mess with the speaker, turning it up and down. This is way better.
Good.
Kudos to Cindy Cruikshank for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Okay, were you guys ready for me to start the meeting? Okay. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Okay, we'll start with audience introductions. Brian or Dan, do you have the list there? Is there anybody to introduce?
Yeah,
Just
go
say
ahead.
it loud.
Yeah, just say it again.
Jessica
Jessica King, Steve Earl from HMK, and David McKay from HMK. And that sums it up.
Okay, fantastic. Did Jessica sign up to speak for anything?
No.
Okay. Item number 2, approval of agenda. Can I get a motion on the agenda or are there changes at this time?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Jenny or Katie, could I get a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Hold on, Trina,
Aye.
did you-
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you want to have discussion tonight about OSBA or did you want to talk about that another time?
Another time. Yeah, I didn't add it to the agenda on purpose.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, I apologize.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda passes. Number 3, delegation of visitors. We don't have anybody who signed up to speak. Item 4. Items of information for the board. So we'll start with 4A, spotlight on education.
Sure. So, Trina, can I go back one step if that's all right on the 3?
Yeah, did somebody sign up to speak?
No, they didn't, but I do have to make sure that I say this for the procurement item, that if anybody, we had placed an ad in the Daily Journal of Commerce about the alternative bidding method that we're utilizing for modern modulars in order to help construct those through the procurement method. And we needed to make sure that there was no public input against that, or any public input in general. Nobody signed up today to speak to that, but I needed to make sure I said that.
Okay, I thought we had decided in our work session that we were going to do that under item 4B1.
Okay, I thought just for the normal part. I apologize.
Remember, we weren't going to do the delegation part there. We're going to do it under each of the topics.
Oh,
So I
got it.
knew you
Got it.
needed to say the procurement part. So duly
I'll do it
noted,
then.
it's said and done.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. So back to spotlight on education.
Yeah, you bet. So over the last, I don't know, couple of years, I guess we'd say, we've been trying to talk about different items that are of concern with bullying and career and college readiness, et cetera. And one of the things we talked about over that time was creating our advisory period that we have every day with our high school and middle school students. And I wanted to know a little bit something on this last quarter. While we haven't had Christina Griffin in the building, she actually did lessons for the first 12 weeks while she was on maternity leave in order to make sure that the part on the SEL, social emotional learning aspect was taken care of. And she worked on that over the summertime. And then, during that in-service week, she was here for a couple days, but that's run really smoothly while she's been gone. April does the other part with the career and college readiness. And we actually have Western Oregon coming in, and 6 students are doing the quick admission program through Western Oregon. And then we have Chemeketa coming, and we have, I believe it's 5 that are doing it through Chemeketa. So, they could do some 2-year programs and get them, in the career field a little bit sooner than the Western Oregon one. But to have those students, taking part of that and doing it during advisory, it's really worked out well. So I just want to say thanks to all of our staff that are implementing that program. But I did want to recognize Christina and April too, but Christina for preparing a lot of those items. So, really good to see that our students are having those opportunities to work on those items. And then the other thing was with our students, we were talking about it earlier in here, but Fall City had an idea to do a Powder Puff game. And unfortunately, a lot of us weren't able to do it because we had a work session last Wednesday. But we've had a lot of positive feedback. Fall City's had the same, and we're deciding to make it an annual tradition. And that's something that we have a good connection with Dallas, that we could utilize their field there. And we've talked about potentially having that as like a fundraiser for food or for money that's going to go to one of our local organizations in the future. So we'll utilize that spotlight as a way to help out other programs in Polk County. So I just thought that was something that worthwhile to talk about. And again, kudos to our leadership team for putting that together. They did a great job of making sure that went well and smoothly with everybody that took part with Fall City and Perryville. And then our other student group that we want to recognize, and again, we talked a little bit about it at our work session last week, which was our D&D club that started. That was a big push from a few students. And after the summertime, we didn't know if that would be something they would really follow up on, but it's worked out really well. If you come in here after school on Wednesdays, we have about 15 to 20 kids every week that participate. And that was all student driven. Again, kudos to Mr. Ferguson, who volunteers his time. They stay here till about 5:30 on those nights, working on Dungeons and Dragons and taking part in that activity of that club. And again, that's something that our students who said, we get FFA and we get sports, we understand that, and that's great, but some of us don't do either one of those. We'd like to do another type of club. So I encourage those student-driven clubs to take part, and I'm glad it's worked out so far.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to hear about that club.
Yeah.
It's been well over 30 years since it started, probably closer to 35, right?
I would assume so. They probably know better than I do, the students to do it. I'm not
Maybe
quite
even
sure.
40.
I'm just glad to see students participating either way, whatever that is.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that spotlight. Item 4B1, HMK report. So the first piece of information is, do we have a baby yet?
No baby yet.
Okay, we're on baby watch.
David looks, yeah, we were talking about Paul, yeah. David's like, what are you talking about? What are they talking about?
Okay, well, we've been in the design development phase, working with Dan and sort of some architects and the design committee, and just working to meet my promise and keep the design within the budget. And we're getting closer. We're scheduled to finish the design development phase on December 7th, and then by December 28th, we'll have an estimate for the design development phase. that point again, let's make sure that the budget is in line with the time before we move to our final phase of construction.
Now, Paul had shared something with me last week, and I don't want to necessarily say the districts, but I mean, if it's kosher, that's fine. It's public knowledge, I guess. But there are some districts that had decided that they were going to pull back on some of this stuff because of the cost of inflation. I'm not suggesting that's what Perryville does because of our timeline, but I know that inflation's been a big driver. And, you know, it's been a concern not only of the board here, but I know of you folks. And, you know, I've shared with the board that, you know, it seems like every time we talk, it's bad news, cost wise or this or that, et cetera. But it's, you know, I know it's something that weighs on all the districts' minds. That was for sure what some of the other districts have done if they had kind of stepped back just because of the inflation costs and how much things are going.
Now, yeah, we've got some challenges. Let's say we had a couple of projects that we did, bidders, pull back projects, bid them right now, this month, and try to get a better bidding. It's even help. For bidders for and bidders for that's people out there. You know, as far as the budget's concerned, this is a process we go through every time. It's part of the process. It always seems when you start out that budget is the design is a little more budget forward and better some investments forward. Provide a cost estimate again. Make some adjustments there and the goal is when it goes out to bid. When the project goes out to bid, you give us bids back in, you need it to work. You don't want at that point begin trying to pull things back again when the bids come in. So this whole process is getting us to bid day and we have a successful project.
Thank you. I appreciate you speaking of that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions of HMK? Okay, then we'll move on to item 4B2, superintendent report.
Well, this one I spoke to you about our seeds survey. April shared, you know, our results with us as a district testing coordinator. So last spring, when we gave that survey to our students, it was really, really encouraging, as it says in there, to see that students feel that they have friends, feel welcome at our school. They feel like the adults here care about them. They feel safe. They feel connected. And having them say that across the board overall was really encouraging to see. You know, anytime you can build those relationships, your amount of students that are completers at school is significantly higher because they feel like they have those people they can connect with. They always also share that they have access to learning resources and opportunities for a well-rounded education. You know, just overall, you know, it's just an encouraging item to see that the students feel good about their education. The first part, the next one here, we got staffing changes again. County has Stephanie Galliford who's coming in, helping us. She's actually looking to establish a resource network that's better for them, but she is stationed here too and is here to help out. She comes from Lynn County and has been helpful with Polk County so far, but is still again trying to establish that resource network and working. You know, the plan is to have her here till about May probably, and then she may go help out with another school who has a person that may be going on maternity leave in May. So we're excited to have an opportunity to have somebody else to help out. And then less positive note, we sad to see Kendra Van Gelder who's moved to Iowa or is moving to Iowa, and then our 2 coaches who have spent a lot of years with us. So thank you to those 3 people for working with our students and being positive role models for them. And then lastly, congratulations to our high school volleyball and football teams for qualifying the state playoff, not layoffs. State layoffs, state playoffs again this year. And feel free to correct that next time. Cindy. That's on me, not you. So hopefully basketball season, we're going to see some more of the same thing for playoffs, but it was great to see. For those of you who missed it, we had a really great moment. Mr. Kohlmeyer, who's up here, Coach Kohlmeyer and Coach Eichler, when they were coaching, we had a really great opportunity for one of our students to score a touchdown and participate. And it was online on the Facebook page, etc. So I refer you to that. And I don't want to identify too much, but it's out there on Facebook already. And the parent was all right with it. But it was a pretty special moment. And parent was really, really appreciative and sent a thank you note to Wilhelmina just saying how great it was for her son to have that opportunity to score. So I wanted to make sure I thank those coaches who were there that evening and took part in it. And Coach Cruikshank was watching his own boys play for their last game down at second last game. Yeah, second last game down there on the coast that night. So it was a really great opportunity. That's it.
Okay, next we will have our elementary report.
All righty. It seems like a long time ago already, but right before Halloween, our elementary had a chance to trick or treat through our hallways. We were sad not to be able to have the carnival this year, but that was a really fun event to have. The kids loved it. The older kids enjoyed passing out candy. And I think it's something that we'll probably try again. Also, our elementary classes are getting ready for the winter music program that's coming up December 7th, 8th, and 9th. We've got classes divided up into smaller groups so that we're able to have family and friends come and watch. As for the middle school, we ended the first quarter with a reward day, popcorn and a movie. And then a change that we've made in the middle school leadership program, we've added a novel, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And that was just something that we wanted to add to help our kiddos as they're developing some of their leadership skills and to add some variety to that class. And my last item, Dan already covered.
Sorry, I
That's
stole your
okay.
thunder again.
You didn't leave them all.
Okay. We'll move on to B4, special education.
We have the same number of students that we did last month at 30. One of the board members had asked me, I had mentioned in my report that we're sending one of our staff to become a math trainer so that we'll be able to access that with a little more flexibility. Right now, we're kind of tied to WESC schedule and they don't offer the class very much. So a lot of times that would put us out like 3 staff members for over the course of 2 days, which is a lot. But the MANT system is preventative, de-escalation, and intervention strategies, dealing with staff relationships, student-staff relationships, and kind of going through the crisis cycle, what to do, different things to do when a student's at baseline as they may become escalated, how to intervene as they fall up that, and then as they move down to de-escalation and kind of how to support them once they're kind of in that cooling off period. So there's a lot of like relational strategies as well as physical strategies. We don't have to very often, but sometimes in special education, we have to restrain students. So a lot of the state reporting asks that we have specific training in doing that, and that's what this program is.
Thank you. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I'm happy to hear you're trying to move forward in that direction. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you for trying to make it work. Okay, we'll move on to B5 facilities. Does anybody have any questions or want to discuss anything about facilities? Okay, then we'll do item C, 4C resignations. I think we'll just for formalities mention it real quick because Dugan already did. But we have Carlene Danka, our middle school volleyball coach, who is resigning. Kendra Van Gilder, our IA, who has moved away, correct? And Shelby Evans is resigning from track.
Correct. And again, just like to thank all three of them for their time here with our school, or to, service to our school and working with our student body and making a positive difference. We really do appreciate it. And with Kendra leaving too, she's has her kids that won't be at school here any longer too. So it's sad to see our staff members leave that have kids as well, because kids around here will miss their children. So tough deal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Item 4D, classified open negotiations.
Are you handling this one, or do you want me to do this one too?
Well, basically, we have been asked to open negotiations with our classified. If you all remember, or some of you don't, but we decided to do offset with our certified and classified, so we weren't doing them both on the same year. And to be really honest, I would love to see one of our new people jump in, maybe with Amber, so that you can get a good feel for negotiations and how the process goes and work on it. If you guys are willing to, if somebody's willing to volunteer to do that.
Are you sure you don't want Brian to do that since Amber did both of them last time?
Whoa, hey,
I do. I was gonna say Brian and Amber, but I didn't want to throw him under the bus. But Amber, I kind of thought maybe you could take one of the three of them and kind of walk through the negotiation process, that you've done it several times, and it would just be a great place for them to learn and grow. And then next time, I expect one of you three to lead.
good job, Amber.
This is training.
Amber, I would do this one with you.
Is that Katie? It's hard to see with a mask on. I don't know who's. Okay, great. So if we're all okay with that, we'll have Amber and Katie do the classified negotiations and basically just reach out to them and get started. I think they wanted to start in January. So if you could, I believe that our point of contact, the head of the classified is
Christy and
it Christy?
Christy Starr and Missy Law.
Is it both of them or is it just one?
Well, Christy, I believe, is still the president. I
Yeah.
looked at Cindy to confirm. She went, oh, so, but I was told at the beginning of this year it was Christy, unless that's changed recently. I didn't realize.
I was told Christy as well.
Yeah.
So I would reach out to Christy and see what dates she wants to get started, and we can get that on the calendar. Basically, just to give you guys a little bit of information on this, once you have some dates to meet with them, and then we just, maybe if you can ask them what they might be wanting to discuss and put that on the agenda, then we can have a meeting as a board and give you parameters, and then that way you can just go negotiate without having to constantly come back to us. Sound good? Okay, so moving on to item 5, our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. Oh, the beauty of being at home. Sean, I'm on Zoom.
Hi, Sean.
I apologize for that. I had some misbehaving dogs and a husband also. Gosh. Okay, so our consent agenda passes unanimously. Item 6, items for board action. We'll do 6A. This is our third reading for policy IIGBA, IIGBA-AR, KK, ACB, ACB-AR. So if anybody wants to, we can break those out and do them individually. But if not, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I move to approve as a slate. IIGBA, IIGBA, AR, KK, ACB, ACB, AR.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the policies that were read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Policies IIGBA, IIGBA-AR, KK, ACB, ACB-AR all passed unanimously. Item 6B, senior trip proposal. Is there any seniors there tonight?
No
No.
seniors here this evening.
Huh, what happened to that?
I'm not sure. I know I was on them about making sure they had their proposal in, but I guess, I don't know if they couldn't make it or if they forgot that they should here to present it or not, so I thought they may be here this evening. But we do have that in their proposal. One of the things, they just felt like they wanted to have some options and see if the board was okay with that, because they felt like, you know, there was a lot of unknown still, because some students have a better comfort level than others with some activities. But they did want to talk about, you know, the 3 different quote unquote skip days, although I told them that one of those may need to be a Friday if they're going to have 2. They decided some of them to take off last Friday. But, you know, that is, you know, something that isn't really a school day on these other Fridays that they're talking about. One of them being a Thursday, that would be a skip day. So I told them that, you know, if they want to plan the activities, we could talk about that this evening if they wanted to do that route. The other thing was that they talked about senior trip, staying in houses at Sun River, or the other option, as you saw, was camping location next to the determined. It would be in Oregon, though, was what I was told on the camping one. I know they looked at Silverwood in Idaho, talked about some locations in Washington, but I was told that overall they felt like these were the options that they felt most comfortable, you know, doing, and with the time, etc. So I know, Amber, you have a senior. He may have more input that he shared with you than I was given, but that's what I was told earlier this last week.
I was given no information. I was told it was a surprise tonight.
Did you let him know that you? Did you let him know that you already had the board packet a week ago? So
Yes, yes.
so that's what they had come up with. Again, they just felt like at this point, you know, they wanted to say that I thought they were going to actually just have one option for senior trip and one option for skip day, or 2, you know, 2 activity days if they wanted to. If one was going to be a Friday and one was going to be a Thursday, if they wanted to do something like that. I thought they were going to just have the 2. It does look like they have that for the skip days, and the senior trip just looks like it's, you know, obviously staying in houses or camping. So would the board like me to I don't know what discussion points you may have, if you want me to go back to them and ask them to, clean that up and come up with one for each and be here to present it for December, I can do that.
I think that this looks like a project in planning instead of coming to us with a plan.
I agree.
So I will put that in written form and send it to them to come prepared December so that we have something to approve.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Trina and Rana, I just also like it should be activities that, the majority can participate in, and I just seen might eliminate a portion of the class.
Well, that's kind of why I was hoping they were here. I was hoping to ask them, does everybody want to do paintballing? Is everybody able to go snowboarding? Is everybody able to go skiing, or is there options for this? I wanted to ask them why it's so vague instead of a plan. And is everybody, I'm okay if everybody doesn't go because somebody chooses not to, but I'm not okay if they have an activity that not everybody can do.
Well, I know that in previous years, well, this is dating me a little bit here, but in 01, I know they went to Sun River and we did go rafting. At that point, some stayed behind with one of the chaperones, but they ended up going to Bend and shop if they didn't want to. And if they wanted to do something like that, if they do stay at Sun River Bend,
Yeah.
and one day we take some of the group up there, and and the other group goes there. I think that kind of accomplishes a lot of the things that they have on their list there, and it also pays attention to what you spoke to.
I kind of assumed that was the case, but again, that was something I was hoping to ask tonight. And and when I write them, I'll write them tomorrow and you can we'll send it to,
Sure.
their advisor is Tabitha still.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I'll send it to Tabitha and, I just want them to know that their class representatives need to come and present this, not their principal superintendent, not Tabitha. It needs to be them. They need to come talk to us.
I think that's great.
Okay, so we're gonna table that, okay? Sorry, I'm on my computer, so I'm scrolling back and forth.
Does there need to be a motion to table it?
What's that? Say that again?
If this dies for lack of motion.
I didn't hear what was said.
I just asked if there needed to be a motion to table it.
We'll just put it on the agenda next time in the middle of this die without a motion.
My dogs are alerting me that there's a visitor. Okay, so moving on, we'll do 6C, recommendation to award modular classroom bid.
Is it in here or is it?
Internet.
I don't know, I keep getting a bar that says internet is unstable.
Can you guys not hear me?
Internet's unstable here. Can you hear us, Trina?
I can hear you guys. Can you guys not
It's
hear
cutting
me?
in and out. I think it may be on our end. It's saying internet's unstable here, so. Now we can.
Can you hear it okay?
Very delayed.
Yeah,
There's
it's just,
just a big delay.
yeah, just a delay.
Okay, let's talk about 6C.
Okay, so with 6C, what you have here in front of you for the board, it just says after careful review and consideration HMK Company recommends you award the contract for modular classroom to Modern Building Systems in the amount of $1,890,730. This is a permissive cooperative procurement contract in accordance with ORS 279A.215. Such contract shall be entered into under the same terms, conditions, and prices as set forth in the price agreement, lease or purchase of modular classrooms with installation, relocation, and removal, in which Salem Kaiser School District 24J is the administering contracting agency. So we are requesting that the board award modular classroom project to Modern Building Systems at the November 15th board meeting for the not to exceed amount of that $1,890,730. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me to discuss. So open to have discussion on that. I will say that that number is actually a little bit lower right now because that amount was not to exceed. But right now we had 4 classrooms that were listed on there. So it would be a little bit smaller amount than what's there, but that's a not to exceed amount that was on there.
So there were no written comments or anything received related.
They're the ones who actually would have received.
Oh, okay.
We did not receive
No,
any, and you
okay.
guys did not either.
And this is from the capital project fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with this, right now, we're hearing, I guess you may want to speak with the modular project, the way it's done, and they bring it, construct it off-site, bring it here, and goes in with a crane like Lego pieces. We're looking at that being about a significant difference price-wise per square footage. Is it still, the estimate's probably a little over or around $300 a square foot or a little north of that. Yeah, and with some of the other stick-built projects you're seeing a number that's close to $500 a square foot right now, isn't it? $600 a square foot. 680?
The most recent 6 classroom addition we just priced.
Wow.
So
So-
this is significant savings, and that's why we're suggesting this to use the factory built. I don't like to call it modular.
I know you
It's
don't,
definitely
yeah.
not modular, but it's factory built, and it's using the efficiencies and the economies that are built by building in the factory, and then bringing them on site for you, so that you have that savings. I think this is actually less than 300. Like you were asking me about the well, versus 680. So it's a significant savings, and it allows us to be able to do more with your budget.
Thank you.
And this is up to 4 classrooms, depending on the overall
Well,
cost,
no,
or 3.
so originally we had looked at possibly 5 because we had to reconfigure we had looked at reconfiguring for sped and library location away from there over that way where it's closer to elementary. So that's what we originally had talked about, and then with scope, is there price wise, is there a reduction needed? And so there was a discussion about 4 if we don't have the money that's available. So that's why the pricing, once the documents or the design gets done over the next few weeks, then we can have our design to kind of take a gander at that, and then we have after we have that process done, we have that price estimate that comes in December 28th, you said?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Then we'll have an idea of what we can or can't afford at that. And that's why with the CMGC, they'll be able to participate in that. They'll be able to participate in that type of estimating, and then also if there needs to be any type of value engineering done. If I
So
speak,
I'm
please
still, I'm still pretty confused about a dollar amount on here without a plan. We still don't have a diagram. We still don't have a plan. We don't know what we're doing. Is it 4 classrooms? Is it 5? But yet we got a dollar amount. I am still extremely hesitant to move forward right now. I just don't have a design. I don't know how we have a dollar amount with no design.
You guys want to speak to that? Because, I mean, I can speak to, you guys are the experts, not us, so.
Yeah, there are the design process that they originally came up with a design of 5 classrooms. And in the process to reduce the budget, reduce it for, we're still developing those 4 classrooms. What this does, it allows Modern to get engaged in the design process. So far, all we have is sort of schematic drawings based on square footage price. We just set it not to exceed, so the Modern could get engaged in the process, which this just allows them to start doing their design. And then, you said, if we get more fully developed design, we'll be able to come up, more accurate numbers. So, but this is just that's a not to exceed, and it provides them with an opportunity to enter into the project and get the process. So we can keep it on.
Thank you.
Very similar to setting it's similar to setting our maximum allowable construction cost for the project. So this is portion out of that.
I think there's 2 other things. One is we need to get in Modern's queue because we're wanting to construct this summer, right? We're wanting, and we need to get into their queue. And so what this does is it gives us that ability to get in their queue. Let me just give you an example. I know that right now they've got an order for 21 buildings, which is going to push their production. So this allows us to then get into their production schedule. As Steve said, as we then work through the design development phase, we can do a reconciliation of budget. We can understand whether we can do 4 classrooms or 5 classrooms, just what it is. But they're able to start their process, their design process, get us time in the schedule, and then we'll dovetail together so that we can again make this summer building season. Because we don't really want to stretch into the next school year. So that's part of it. There's a lot of moving parts that we're trying to bring together at the same time.
I think it would be helpful,
Yeah.
maybe if you could just talk a little bit more about those moving parts and how they fit together and how this ties in with the next item for the federal contractor. So, I mean, I think that would help for folks to just kind of picture it a little bit better.
Right. And Steve, if I just speak, jump in, okay? So we have Soderstrom Architects that's designing the building, all of the components that'll be remodeled or stick built, the seismic, and then any of the renovation work we're doing. So they're doing the full design of that. They have done enough design for the factory built buildings that now we need to turn that over to Modern Building for them to then fully develop their design. It's a completely different permitting process. So the permitting for the building, the seismic, let me just say the seismic project, the remodeling we're doing, that'll go through Polk County. But the factory built buildings go through the state of Oregon. So it's as if we have 2 kind of parallel tracks that we need to move down so that we can converge and be able to build at the same time. And so by allowing Modern Building to begin to start their design process, and then us continue to take the seismic project and the rest of the work that Girding Builders will, in essence, perform on site. We can then come to that next cost estimate, which will be a reconciliation point where we will determine whether we have more scope than budget or whether the scope that we have is within budget. We'll have the modern piece. We'll have the estimate for the rest of the work. And then it's that point where we can determine, are we adding scope or are we pulling scope back as we move into the construction document phase? Construction document phase runs from up till March 22nd. And the goal is then at the end of March, the 1st of April, we're doing the final buyout or bidding of the project. And so we're trying to dovetail both of these pieces in together. So that when, and I'm not sure what we have for a construction schedule yet for the factory built building landing. 10 months. Okay. So the goal is that Modern is able to get those pieces built and landed here when we need that. And I don't understand that schedule personally. We can get that for you so that those come together. There's a piece of the work that Girding's going to do that needs to come together with that. It's not like they're two separate projects. We're trying to bring them together as one project. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
or am I
no,
confusing things?
No, that makes sense to me. Sorry,
Yeah.
can I ask some more questions? Or go ahead,
Any
Brian.
questions if you want?
Okay, so does this lock us in on a square foot price, or could we see like the continual escalation on construction? So while we have like a not to exceed our buying power, like is our buying power locked in, or could we still see escalation of building costs with this and an impact on the project like in 3 months?
I haven't had the conversation with Modern, so Steve, is
Well-
the price they quoted, is that locked in?
That's in the procurement agreement, is it not?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it
it
would be
is.
locked in.
Okay,
I'm thinking we have a. Government Kaiser. We have a price quote from them for this. Okay, so we have a price quote from them, and this will help lock that in.
and then, sorry, one more question. This might be more for you. Has our like advisory committee been brought in, and are they comfortable with this?
So we met last time, we talked about this first, and then we met with the general contractors that were doing the, we're doing sporting stuff for that. And so they were brought up to speed on what that is. Now, again, it's disappointing news as far as a reduction in scope anytime you have that or price inflation. Again, they made suggestions on like the corridor being a little bit longer, so that way the doors weren't there, but they understood the floor flash, et cetera, and that, that they know that we're still looking to possibly get that bit. We may have a gift in kind. I don't want to speak too much right now, but that may help us reach that goal. So that was the one that we had originally done during the summer.
Those are all my questions. All right.
So my question is, does this lock us into having to do that this year? I don't see any dates on it other than the issuing date.
Trina, unfortunately, all we heard was, does this lock us in? And then it paused, and then it said, or then we heard you say the date.
I don't see any completion date, so if we decide to push this out, how does that affect us?
Trina, are you asking like if we want to push the project back, how would that impact us?
That's what she was asking. She said if there's no dates on the procurement thing, I know on the procurement agreement that it would say it expires on whatever date, but she was asking if we decided to push the project back, if the school district did, how would this affect it? So I would assume that on that procurement agreement with Salem Kaiser, that there's an expiration date or a sunset date on that. Do we know what that may be by any chance?
It's an annual contract. They renew it.
So Trina, you said it was an annual contract. He doesn't know the exact date on the expiration of that. Of the contract with Salem Kaiser with Honor. Yeah, I know that it's advantageous for them to continue to have that agreement. It just has to be, I would assume that the pricing would change with those agreements.
Unfortunately, that
No, I get that. I meant if we push the project off, that part of a project off, you wouldn't necessarily get the same pricing next year that you're getting now. Yeah. Trina, is there anything else? I'm sorry that the connection's not great.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm just not in love with the process. It feels backwards. Nobody builds a personal house like this. It's just backwards. And because it's tax dollars, I just feel like it should be more transparent and less layered with bureaucracy. So I'm just going to continue to state that throughout the process, that I think this is crap. So is there a motion?
For the 300 or whatever a square foot.
Well, they gave us a quote on that. Yeah, so
We should know how many classrooms we can build
we do for
that
Yeah.
price. And that number is what? For how many classrooms can we build for 5?
For the 1.89.
So for the 5 classes, 1.89, the concern is if we need to reduce that, then what would it would be less than.
Right, depending on the scope of the other that we're getting to.
Right.
Then we would need to adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a motion on the table yet?
Are we? Are we considering the recommendation to approve the modern separately from the construction manager to
Yeah,
yeah,
contractor,
those are
so that's
Two separate.
completely word, okay.
Yes, currently we are just looking at approving the modern building systems.
So I would move that we accept the recommendation to award modular classroom the bid.
I would second.
We need the dollar not to exceed.
Oh,
Basically just
yeah.
read the modular project, modern building system.
Not to exceed 1.890730. I did that totally wrong. I don't do math.
I would second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Modular Building Systems is awarded the bid unanimously. Thank you. Item 6D, recommendation to award the general contractor for the pre-construction services. It's going to be page 110 to 113 in your packets.
110.
It's not cute.
So it just says here again, for the district, received 6 construction manager, general contractor RFP responses. One from Emmerich Construction, First Cascade Corporation, Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company, PNC Construction, Trippett Wellman, and Girding Builders. After careful review and consideration, the district scoring committee and HMK Company recommend that the district enter in to a CMGC contract with Girding Builders. Girding Builders LLC is a contractor of good reputation that is the committed resources to provide the required services for the project. Their proposed CMGC fee of 2.95% is extremely fair. Within the RFP response, Girding Builders LLC has assembled a thoughtful and comprehensive local contractor and vendor plan that we will believe will facilitate significant local participation. We are asking that school board take action to award the CMGC contract for capital bond projects to Girding Builders LLC. This request will enable Girding Builders LLC to immediately engage with the project team as we look at the various design and construction options for the project. We request that the board authorize the pre-construction services contract in an amount not to exceed $75,000. At this point of reference, once the project has been bid and the guaranteed maximum price or GMP has been determined, a recommendation to award a GMP amendment for the project will be brought to the board for acceptance and authorization. Did you gentlemen want to speak to what that last paragraph means or last sentence means?
Yeah. Once we get the construction documents and we turn it over to Kirby, they're gonna put it out to bid. And so they'll compile all those bids and put it into one gross maximum price, which they guarantee to build this project for this price. And that is, what we bring to the board. If they bid this out, we feel like these are the best subcontractors, the best price for this project. This is the cost, and this is the total dollar amount.
And there, it says that there is, it's time for an amendment to the project. So I just want to make sure, because I think that the percentage and the pricing, that 70 not to exceed 75. The intent with the CMGC project is that they're involved with the pre-construction services, but then they will be the general contractor. Then, if the board agrees to this tonight, they would be the general contractor and then get the subs to bid it out and work it. But I just want to make sure, because that number would not be the final amount any general contractor would be doing. It's just for the pre-service or pre-construction services.
That's to get them on the project, providing plan review, cost estimates. We're going to need to for the seismic upgrade. We're going to need constructive investigation, get on site, pull some things apart, see what our connections are going to be. So so they've got a service they're going to be providing to, until we get to the point, the bidding, and then it'll be a 1 month guarantee.
And then at that,
Oh, no.
go ahead. Oh, then at that point, it would be the 2.95% on the project.
Yeah, all the subcontracts, that's
Yeah.
their market.
Is that soft and hard?
Pardon?
Is that soft and hard cost? 2.95% of that, or is
Well,
of all costs?
yeah, I guess technically the general contractor is the hard cost.
Okay,
You carry the soft cost of your project, your payments to the architect,
okay,
for us, project management, geotech, survey, a number of items. that we consider.
okay.
Contractors, hard cost.
So with the 2.95%, that's their profit. And then their people each week, that would be the general conditions. Again, Steve and David, please correct me if I'm misspeaking on this, but so the general conditions would be the weekly amounts basically that you would be paying, their employees that are working, and then the 2.95% was their profit, basically.
If I could clarify just a little bit. When Dan talks about their people, what we're talking about is their supervision. So their project manager, their superintendent, their foremen, their quality control, their forklifts, their trailers, their safety. Those are the things that are called general conditions. And so that it's not for carpenters. It's not for people that are actually building the building. It's the supervisory, the administrative staff on site. We don't pay for home office staff. We're only paying for the staff that's on site. Home office staff and all of that is in their 2.95% fee.
So I'm also very confused. I thought that we were hiring you, HMK, to be our project manager. So I'm pretty confused that now we're gonna hire a general contractor who's gonna have their project manager. So now I got more layers, more people, and I'm paying everybody, right? So what are you now doing for us once we have a general contractor, and how much are we continuing to pay you for what services are you going to continue to offer us?
So we are your advocate throughout this entire project. We are the one party in this project that has no vested interest other than to be your advocate. So we don't design and we don't construct, we don't build. And so we continue to manage the design process, to manage those contracts that you have, the cost reconciliation, the reconciliation of scope to budget, managing that estimating process, all of the other contracts that you will need to have for this project, like construction testing, and those types of added services are our responsibility to manage for you. We manage the budget for you. Once we get into construction, we review all the change orders. We make sure that the change order's been priced fairly. We're on site. We oversee the architect contractor meeting every week. So we are your advocate throughout this entire process. So you're really not adding additional layers. If this project would have gone out to bid and through a hard bid process, the typical design bid build, where you would have project managers, you would have superintendents on the contractor side. And so our responsibilities are truly to serve you, to advocate for you, to look out for your interest, and to manage those contracts that you have.
I was also under the impression that going through you was going to reduce costs for us.
Well, we try to do that every day for you. I mean, part of just going through the process we've gone with design and scope alignment and making sure that we are aligning the scope with the budget and then just trying to constantly challenge to make sure we're getting best value. That's part of what we do for you.
Is this the best bid financially for us?
Is this the what?
The best bid?
The best bid, I think.
The best
financially.
bid? Well, the problem, it's the CMGC process is not a bid process, it's a proposal process where you're choosing what you believe to be the best team. And it's a combination of cost and team and experience that you then choose the firm that you think is best suited to serve you and this project. And that's what Girding Builders was. So it's very hard for me to answer that, Trina, and say this is the best bid. The committee believes this is the best firm. This is the firm that will serve you best. Looking at qualification, looking at experience, looking at previous jobs, looking at the team, looking at price for their fee and their general conditions. When you bring that whole package together, I believe your committee, which we were not a voting member, we facilitated the process. Your committee of how many people? Six people believe that Girding Builders is the best firm for this project.
So I'm kind of following up on that, like looking at the scoring sheet that goes along is high good, I assume. Like is a higher number
Yes.
good?
Yeah.
Because they did under fees, which I assume is the cost estimate. They had, like, everyone was at like 40 and they scored at 64. So what does that? Because I think that gets to Trina's cost question. Or does it?
Can I see which page you're looking at? Can I walk around?
Under 11, the scoring matrix that you all provided. Yeah, just kind of breaking down that matrix and where we could find that cost estimate in this.
Well, you don't have a cost estimate yet. What you have is you have the fee, the percentage of fee, and you have general conditions.
It says cost estimating, number 9.
Cost estimating. So in the proposal, there's a series of criteria that we ask them. We ask them to, a cover letter to describe, number 2, to describe the company, to give us an overview of your company. To number 3, similar project history. Number 4, safety. So we asked them to discuss each of these in their proposal. Their proposal is 30 pages, I believe. And so what occurred was each of your committee members sat and read every one of those proposals, and they scored each part of that proposal for the firm based on how well they thought they answered those specific questions. Does that make sense? So the cost estimating piece is for them to describe the process they use to estimate your project.
So then what about fees? Number 7.
Yeah, number 7.
So fees would be the 2.95% plus insurance
So
costs.
they came in at the lowest.
They were the
Is that
lowest
what that means? They were
percentage.
the lowest percentage.
Yeah, but by just a little bit over one other company. But then when you look at the general conditions, they were not. So because they had more people they had more people involved with the project than like Emmerich, for example. Emmerich was the lowest when it came to general conditions. One company said they were the lowest, but they had the number of weeks wrong by half, so then they became the highest.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Chrissy, if you have stuff to add too, I know you were there, so. feel free to-
Did you have something? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I'm comfortable. We had a process and it had the local engagement and advice that we're looking for.
Do we have a motion or any more conversation?
If there was anyone else.
Do you all go through the, I'm sorry, the due diligence process related to the company itself? That were you, that has been identified as the birding builder? Is there a specific process that before, moving forward, like their license bonded, all of those things, are those required? Is that required information that they have given in their,
Yes.
Okay.
So we have their licensure. Let me just give you a couple examples. So we have their licensure, we know their contractor's board. We won't get a bond until the GMP, because there's not a dollar amount that we're gonna ask for a payment performance bond, but we know their bond,
Okay.
okay? And I believe we got a letter from their bonding company to help speak to what their bonding capacity is, and it's within the dollar amount of this. I mean, it's greater, but it's probably 80 million. Okay. We also sent reference checks out, and those were returned, and that was part of what your committee then was able to review, those actual reference checks. So I think that answers your question.
Yes,
Okay.
and as far as no like current litigation.
They did disclose that they currently have a dispute resolution that is ongoing. And it's on a project with a subcontract, it's actually a project I'm on. And it's an ongoing project, and there's a dispute with one of their subcontractors on that, but they did disclose that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I make a motion that we authorize a pre-construction services contract with Dick Birding Builders. That who it is?
Yeah.
Okay. In the amount not to exceed $75,000. So yeah,
What I need you to do is I need you to award the CMGC. The Birding Builders is the CMGC. And then what you just said about the $75,000 for pre-construction services. We just explained why the CMGC contract is an umbrella contract that we then hang amendments inside of. And so the pre-construction service becomes an amendment in the contract within that CMGC umbrella. So you're awarding Birding Builders as the CMGC for your project, and you're awarding moving forward with the $75,000 pre-construction service.
I'll amend that motion to be, I move that we award Birding Builders LLC award them the CMGC contract, and we authorize a pre-construction services contract in the amount not to exceed $75,000.
Do we need to say anything about the 2.95%?
You said no, Trina.
I'll
Is there-
second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously 100%.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
So I'm still pretty concerned as a board member that the cost of this is mounting and growing. Definitely something for us to continue to keep our eye on. We do not have to build right now.
I'd just say, I met with a group of, larger construction projects that we contract with the university and asked them questions around like price escalation, and they are not seeing anything to subside or calm down right now, the uncertainty in the market. And so I do think it's good that we're locking in a price. I know we have a lot of other uncertainty that goes in it, but that made me very comfortable being able to lock in a price right now.
Well, and we have a time frame that we have to get certain things done too, and I don't think the price is going down any. I don't think it's gonna go down next year. I think it's only gonna go up the next couple of years.
We're seeing 15+% escalation on our project. Yeah.
A lot.
Thank you for sharing that information. Okay, item 6E, exterior video upgrades. Dan, you're on.
You bet. So I was able to connect with Trina and some of you today about, with Inova, when we got the bid from them, they told us that they had a procurement agreement similar to what Modern does. It allows you to get just the one bid and tell you what that is and a guarantee price. What they came back and told us Wednesday afternoon was that was just for time and materials. And so Lorraine had reached out to the person at the state, and they suggested that we do get 2 more bids if we decide to go that route. So we want to honor that. So obviously, if that's what they're saying, so we don't run afoul. But the big question I want to make sure with a system, we would get something that's probably similar in price if we decided to go this route, by tying it in, by getting a new, I call it a brain, but I'm sure that's not the right way to say it, probably a CPU for the security system. Right now, we have enough for 12 cameras, and we have all of them being used in our current system. If we're looking to add some into the elementary as we do that project and have some out on the playground area, we don't have any on that side of the building at this point, then we're going to need to upgrade that CPU. So that would make sense if we could go ahead and have something large enough to add on the units by the modulars that we've been talking about, plus something that would allow us to expand later on. And that's what we had asked them to consider when they were putting something together, is that we may want to add some. That being said, we all know that, I think Brian was the one who said it before, that we're going to look at those cameras if something's wrong. So if we wanted to go the route of a standalone system, obviously we would be able to find something that's less expensive. But then what we'd be doing, are we going to be right in the same spot we're at now a few months from now when we're looking at cameras, for the new hallway and out on the playground area, etc. So that's what I'd like for the board to, consider on which route you'd like to see us go. If we went with another independent system for the elementary hall, that would be 3 independent systems. I don't think that would be advisable, but we could look at just going down that road later on if you choose. We did attempt to try to call some companies, 2 of them on Friday once we got that information about getting the other 2 bids, but obviously that was just on Friday. One's out of Eugene, and that was actually suggested by Inova that we contact them for another bid. And then another one was from Jerry, our IT guy. He said talk with a company out of Portland that he had utilized before as well. So we're trying to get the bids from those 2 companies if that's the route that the board would like to go.
If we go with this, this scope of work and award it to them, we are able to include our new construction area in the new cameras, correct? It will all be in that.
That's correct.
There won't be new costs. We'll have to buy more cameras, but we won't have to
Yeah.
upgrade the program.
That's what, yes, that's what they said, and that's what we had asked them to do. If they were putting that on there, take that in consideration that we have to add on more cameras, after the project is done.
And they didn't have concerns about like doing part now and adding on later. We
No.
wouldn't be, okay.
It's kind of a plug and play type
Okay.
situation.
Good.
And it's a company we've already been doing work with. So that's the other thing is they have pretty good customer service for us. They've been really responsive, I'm sure that they're having staffing issues like everybody else right now, but overall, when we've contacted them, they've been really responsive. Ray, I don't know if you had any other experiences with them financially, but I know on the customer service part, it's been pretty good. So Lorraine shook her head no. So that there's been no issue on that end of it. So, again, we want to make sure we get the other bids, but the scope of work, talk about provide and install a new 64 channel video management server. We could even probably go something a little bit less than that, but right now we have a 12 channel. So we could look at, okay, if we went with 32 channels or 36, what would that look like? I don't know if there's a large difference price wise on that. But that is one thing that I see when it says 64 channel, I'm assuming that's what they mean by that.
Yeah, unless we're talking about changing everything over to a different company, I don't. I would go with anybody else.
As far as the locations, like we had discussed, we did they came and did a walkabout with us, and they had two representatives come. One was the manager that oversees install, and we looked at setting up 2 cameras on one post to help save costs over by the barn that would shoot that backside plus the entrance to like the barn and the greenhouse. And then one that was over on the west side of the greenhouse that would get that little area that's rocky there. We may be able to potentially put our minibuses, which have had some catalytic converter issues. That's one thing we've discussed, is maybe have that be in a locked area with a gate that's there, which then it would have the camera that's focused on it. And then the camera would also be able to point down that middle fairway between the two buildings, because one of our board members, I can't remember which one of you, maybe have been you, Trina, had asked that we have a camera that may go down that middle area. And then another one was over kind of in front of the modulars, kind of where the drop-off area is, have one camera there. So it'd be 2 cameras on one post over by the barn, 2 cameras on the greenhouse pointing towards the modulars, and then one at the front. So 3 locations, 5 cameras total.
Are these something that you can tap into live though, and watch it off your phone or something, or?
Yeah, on their app that they have, you can do that.
We have.
Oh, you have the same one?
Photoshop, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you have a Nova too? Okay.
So all that Adam State said is we have to have 2 other written quotes, and asking them in a written format is fulfilling the obligation. If we open it up for about 2 weeks for that response to come back, that will fulfill our obligation, and then we decide. That will give our 3 quotes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate you checking on that.
So we need to sit on this for now.
That's what I would say. But I guess I'm looking for a little bit direction. Do we want to go and look at doing the system that would be integrated so we could then expand it out and utilize it? It sounds like
I
we're
think,
hearing
yeah, that
yes.
makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not opposed to a 64. I mean, I think the way that things are going, I don't think that adding extra cameras is that expensive. And we can, be able to utilize several different ones in different locations.
Right.
So
I
it's nice
agree.
to expand on it more, because I bet the cost is that much different.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be for that part. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we'll table this till the next meeting. Right, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, we'll move to item 7, which is patron input. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to items that were not on the agenda tonight?
Isabella, you have anything to speak about? Isabella said she's hungry.
Fair
I think
enough.
that's her way of saying hurry up.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8, board comments. Everybody's full of energy. We'll move on to item 9, announcements and dates of importance.
So the 22nd and 23rd, we have our conferences. So the one on the 22nd is the longer day, and the 23rd conferences are scheduled to get over at noon. We actually have at 11:30. I had spoken with Trina, and I know she's spoken to you folks at the work session about having an opportunity to come speak with the staff. So at 11:30, you have that available. And then I know the board is helping do the main dish, and we have Jessica here at PPC is doing the side dishes. And then we have our murder mystery going on for the staff after that. So we look forward to having that interaction. We appreciate both the generosity of the board members and PPC for helping us with our staff members and feeding them that day. And we'll get a final head count for you at the end of this week. We'll send out an email tomorrow that asks, because we need to get a head count for, both PPC and our board and also the murder mystery guy. And then on the 24th and 25th, no school. Wednesday obviously is the 24th, just we had already built that in as a day off there to travel. Families are doing that. 25th is Thanksgiving. December 7th, we have the 4th, 5th winter program, which is that Tuesday evening at 6 and 7. Giving some time to clear out again. The reason why we split them was so we could have more family members be able to attend, because if we had everybody in there with both classes, it just would be too many for what we're looking to try to accomplish and everybody being able to be there. So the 4th and 5th graders will get to have a couple performances that night. And then kindergarten and first is actually doing it at 2 and 3 p.m. In the old gym that next day.
And they are not together.
Yeah, and they're not at the same day. It's 2 and 3. And then second and third grade is at 6 and 7 on that Thursday the 9th. So it's spread out, and we understand that's more work for Misty, but she thought it was great to be able to have this again. I know we had a former board member and local constituent here that sent a message earlier. Was excited to see that we were having the programs again this year and being able to make that work as best we can for families, and just happy to see that we're able to have our Christmas programs back again. As you saw earlier, it's a country thing. I think it's something Hoedown Mateys or something. I can't remember quite what it was, but so we appreciate the flexibility of Ms. Matthews and our staff and our parents to make this happen, but we're excited to once again have a Christmas program. And then on the 20th is what it's scheduled for right now, board work session. It says at 6:30 and then regular session at 7. Are we possibly looking to move this to December 13th?
Yeah,
Any objections to that?
I was hoping tonight that we could move that to the 13th, and of course, the work session would start at 6. How's
You want that
everybody?
work session at 6, or was that January's work session?
Oh, you're right, January. Thank you, Cindy. You're worth your weight in gold.
So December 13th.
Does that work for everybody?
We're having a lot of nods, so yeah.
Okay, we're good. All right, is there any other dates of importance? With that, at 8:30 PM, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody, Trina.